talk about the way in which your ethical hackers are helping shine a light on the vulnerabilities of the Pentagon. You've already worked with credit card companies, with banks. How does working with an institution like the Pentagon change things for you?
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. It's actually not a whole lot different. The Pentagon certainly recognizes that the threat is just as vast for government as it is for private enterprises, and they're realizing the only way to stay ahead of the ongoing threat is to utilize the same hackers that are attacking them almost every single day. They're using the hackers for their advantage. They're trying to get that adversarial perspective of what they look like when someone's trying to break into our most critical infrastructure, our most critical assets that really are running this nation. And it's really exciting to see them taking this more progressive approach, kind of like the technology companies have done for quite a few years. The banks jumped on board, the healthcare companies jumped on board, and now finally we see the government jumping into the same space.
And you're a man who had experience working there, the Department of Defense, NSA. Talk to us about your experience, and indeed, you've just run this exercise through February 7th. What did that bring up? I mean, was the Pentagon surprised by how many vulnerabilities it actually had?
Yeah, I think traditionally the government has taken a consultative approach. Let's bring in typical government integrators. Let's do assessments on our systems. Let's take reports in and try to remediate all the problems. The difference here, instead of one or two individuals, we've had 80 of the top hackers across the United States trying to break into a very critical system. This is the first time the government has ever attempted something like this on an internal sensitive asset. And within just a few hours, we found something pretty critical. It ended up on Secretary Mattis's desk within 24 hours.
Wow.
And they've remediated the problem very, very quickly. This is a widely deployed system across our military organizations and branches across the government as a whole.
I mean, just looking at this screen that we've got up at the moment, cyber incidents versus federal investment, phenomenal growth in cyber threat. Not so much phenomenal growth in the price, in the amount of investment in cyber attacks coming from the government. Are they starting to wise up?
It's scary, and I think the government is starting to recognize they need to be thinking outside of the box. They need to be taking these more progressively leaning solutions, or they're never going to stay ahead of this threat. Look, we have a massive supply and demand problem as it relates to cybersecurity jobs. Over 1 million jobs currently remain unfilled globally, and that's going to skyrocket to 1.5 million jobs by 2019. There's no way we're going to hire all of this talent, so by utilizing more of these crowdsourced approaches, it's really the only way we're going to stay ahead.
Talking of the global aspect of this, I was interested, you say you had 80 of the top ethical hackers in the United States. Are you looking to ethical hackers outside of the US, though? Because this is where a lot of the cyber attacks are coming from.
So we do leverage hackers all over the world. We're in 40 different countries, and we utilize them for our enterprise-focused customers. The US government obviously is a little bit more sensitive to leveraging people in Russia and China, Eastern Europe, and so forth. But we do expect them to expand that scope over time. When they get more comfortable with this concept, we think that they're going to be comfortable with the idea of bringing more and more people outside of the boundaries of the United States, starting with our Five Eyes allied nations, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and the UK, and then hopefully expanding from there.
We saw that graphic of how much cyber threats have increased, particularly under the first few weeks of Donald Trump's presidency. Is it just that the media has got excited about it, it's caught our attention, or indeed the 1,512% growth in cyber threat curve since in the last 10 years, have they got real or more frequent and more damaging?
The threat is definitely increasing in velocity, but at the same time, we're doing a better job at actually spotting the attacks. And so I think the data is actually a little bit deceiving. We have better technology and better capability to figure out when are people actually attacking our networks and critical infrastructure and governments. And so because of that, the number looks like it's increasing, but when in reality, we've been attacked by other nation states, by other entities for a very, very long time. This is nothing new. It's just getting more sophisticated, and we're actually hearing about it more in the press, more than we ever have before.